Today we're going to show you a demo of MillMage tools, which is not associated with MillMage, but what it does is it takes tools, files from the web that various vendors make that describe, their characteristics, their speeds, their feeds, their spindle stuff, and converts them to something that MillMage can do. Now I do this with a program that I wrote in Java, and what I want to do first of all here is just launch it. And I got a batch file here right now that launches it. So this loads up all of the different classes, and this is the program that we're going to be playing with. Now I call it tool table utilities for now. So these fields here, the input field, output name, and then we got some parameters here. This is the maximum spindle speed that our particular machine can handle. This is the maximum inches per minute or millimeters per minute that our system can handle. So we select that by doing these metric and imperial buttons. We also select the tool vendor by this particular one. Now I got selected here Vectrix, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. These tool tables can also be ones that your native machine handles. So if you have Vcarve, you more than likely have a Vectrix table. And we can convert Fusion 360 tables that people have. Fusion 360 is a very popular three-dimensional and two-dimensional drawing program. And a lot of vendors have created tool tables specifically for Fusion 360. Then there's Carbide Create, and you got Carveco. I could even do MillMage tables, but there's no purpose really in doing a MillMage table convert, but it's here inside of the table. I'll take MillMage, and maybe you accidentally have Imperial and you want metric, and that will allow you to do a conversion. Okay, so let's start off very simply by using this. Now, this is set up so that you could do a drag drop from a file system onto here if you so desire, or you can do a manual selection, and this extension type is defined by what you select down here. So if you are doing Fusion 360 and I do a select, you'll notice that it's now only JSON files are selected here. But when I come back in, it sees that this particular file that I've got located here is a VTDB file. So it'll automatically select the Vectrix for you. So that's pretty simple. So this is a vector database that I downloaded from the web. This could be a vector database from your particular machine that you've been running. So let's start off with, we're going to do a conversion real quickly here. We'll do select, and this is where I'm going to be putting it. So I'll put it in here, and let me see, I will call it Pulse Tools, and that's going to be a MillMage tool file. So okay, I got that set up, and now you'll see that the Start Conversion button is now enabled. And what I'm going to do is, most of the tools that you see in Vectrix format are already in inches per minute imperial format. So I need to convert those to metric, and that's what I'm going to do with this. And I start the conversion. It does the conversion, looks at everything that's going on, and now it tells me that 70 tools from their database have been converted, and they are now in Pulse Tools. Okay, now more than likely you're only going to do this a few times. The import itself, is not the whole, it's the thing for the program, but it's not really everything that's happening here. So let's go to the tool editor now and take a look at what we got here. So I'm just going to bring in the tool library I just picked up. I've created, there's Paul's tools right there, and I do an open, and you see all of these are all 70 tools in their order, in their categories that they put in. So now if I take, let's say, well, let's go that one. You can see that it's a roughing, and it's a roughing bit, it's a V30. Now if I wanted to edit this tool and change characteristics, all you have to do is double click, and now everything's edit. And maybe I just want to change this to IDCs, something like that. Then I can, everything here is all converted. It tells you all the counts, the spindle speed that it runs at and everything. And these are all taken from the file that we just created. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Okay, now it didn't save the tool library yet, so that's what this is. And we're going to save the tool library. We're going to reset it false. Yes, I'm going to overwrite it, and bang. I could also, if I wanted to, save this to another tool library that I wanted to do. But that's not all of the things that we're going to do. Let's go ahead and do this tool select thing. Now this is where you have your tool table that you're going to be running on MillMage. And you have this huge set of tools that you just downloaded. But you don't even want all 70 tools to be in your active user tool table. So let's start off by selecting the file I just downloaded. I do that by going to here, and I select that. This is where I put all this information. And there's the tools again that we just saw. Now you can also filter by all of this. So if you got several hundred tools, maybe you're only interested in looking at just the taper ball nose bits over here. Okay, but I'll go back to here. Now this would be the load of the user tool bits that you're going to actually use in MillMage. So my MillMage tools are, let's say, over here. And I'll open those up. So I only got two tools in here right now that I use, a 1/4-inch ball and a 1/8 end mill. That's my active user tool table for MillMage, as far as I'm concerned. And I want to add, let's see what we got here. Oh, roughing end mill. I like roughing end mills. These more look like V-bits, but let's see what we got. Here's a, okay, I don't particularly like those. Let's do one of these things here. So if I wanted to add this ball, no, let's add this ball in here. All I gotta do is double click, then add selected. And what it does is it brings down the category that we want, and it'll bring down the ball mill that we want. And that's in here. Now if I save the user tools, I can save it back to RC5, and it'll warn me that the tool already exists. Do I really want to replace it? And I go, okay, yeah. And now RC5 will have included all of these tools, and MillMage now will pick that up, and you can use that in MillMage. So that's the intent of this tool, and there's a few minor options up here. You got the help files, and we fill this in usually after I finish all my work. And that would be about, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this program. You got topics, which would be your help files, and history, which is what this is all about here. This also checks for updates, and what it does is says, okay, this is the current version. It'll go out to the web page that I assigned for tool table utilities and verify whether or not there's an update. Right now, I'm still trying to do one thing that I'm having some problems with. Right now, I can do this and I can launch this with a batch file, and this is 100% functional. It works, no problem. But one of the problems that you have is normally most people don't want to do launches from a batch file. They want to just do an exe and, that's it. Even though this is very easy to do, and I could probably set this up with a MSI install so that you wouldn't know that it's really a batch file. But there's still a lot of setup to do on something like this. So I have really, really been trying hard to do a conversion to an exe file, but this is Java FX, and that has its own particular issues. that you're fighting. So I can show you an example of what is not working. Let me close this for a second and go back to here. And let's see, I think I have an exe file already. I don't. Okay, so normally what I would do is I would build it as a native like this. And this is supposed to build me a native exe file. I know this is a lot of gobbledygook showing up on the screen, but I have to feed it a lot of information. I have to give it all of the individual modules that I've created over the decades. Then there's a lot of supporting modules from Java and JavaFX. So all of this is being done by this particular program. And because JavaFX isn't really, it's kind of a pseudo thing because it is a screen that could possibly be used on the web. It has a lot of stuff called reflection. And I use a lot of reflection code inside of this particular program. So what happens is you have to run this particular file several times, and it will try to accumulate all of the exceptions and reflections and everything else. Okay, so let's see. It built something. I called it capture this time. So if I run capture, there's the program that I just had. Now, this program sure looks a little bit different because there's no colors. But everything is functional on this particular program. You can do your selections just like I did before. I can save it to a file like I did before. I can go to my tool editors and you notice there's nothing here. So all of this stuff is working, but there's no color. Okay. And in some machines that I've run this on, there's no fonts. So it's kind of absolutely useless for people, even though this is functional. You see that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It works. You can do all your selections and everything else. But if you don't have the font selections over here, which on some Windows machines, these don't show up, it's kind of useless. So that's where I am. I'm stuck in a little quandary of trying to figure out why my fonts aren't coming back up. And then on the second thought, which is very minor, but it's important, why is my colors, which is the CSS, those XML files are what's called a resource, and they're not inside of here. So the program really works well to do the conversions, but I can't show it to people yet. I can't give it out if we have these particular problems. And then I have a very minor but irritating problem. So if I do file, I see recent files. It keeps track of the last, I forgot what I set it up for. It's either 5 or 10 files that I've done. And that's okay. That all works out fine. And some of these other menus work. Now you get to this one here, and let's say I want to do check for updates. Okay, that seems to work pretty good. See, there it is. That works. So I get back in here now, and I'm going to do help, and I'm going to do an about. And this is my about program, and look what happens. Bang! So there's a few little tiny little quirks in there, and all of this has to do with the conversion. The program itself runs fine, but the conversion has some issues. So I'm hopefully going to try to solve this program problem within the next week, and we'll see what happens from there. So thank you for watching this mess. If you have any interest in it, just go ahead and send me a note. It does work. MillMage handles these new tool files without a problem. And one of the advantages to running something like this is it makes it very easy to put together tool files that are from vendor files. So I can take a JSON file and convert it and add some tools into my tool table from a different vendor. I got a roughing one from IDC that I particularly like, so I can move that in here. I think it's a really big help, and I have a lot of programs I've written for MillMage and Lightburn. that once I solve this particular problem, I will release to the general population here, and free of charge. And it should be fun. Okay, and that's all I got for now. Thank you.